Welcome to S&C's Networking Tutorials. I'm Chris,
And I'm Sean.
and we look forward to walking you through how to configure an Alcatel 6600 switch. For this activity, you will need some equipment. You can see here in this picture an Alcatel 6600 48-port switch. Here we have a USB to serial adapter. This picture shows a USB extension cable being plugged into the USB serial cable adapter. You'll have your computer equipment and any necessary networking cables. Of course, you'll want to ensure that you have internet access.
Now we'll look at how to configure the initial IP address and VLAN configuration on the switch. First thing you'll need to do is download a terminal program such as CoolTerm or CoolTerm Win from the internet. You have to make sure that the serial adapter is connected to both the switch and the USB extension cable, which in turn is plugged into your computer. Once that is complete, you can open up CoolTerm and then you open up the options menu with the gear and the wrench near the top of the screen. The following options are important to set. Under Terminal Options, set the terminal mode to line mode and the enter key emulation to CR. Next, near the top of the screen, there's a button that says Connect with a little cable on it, and you need to click on that in order to create the connection between your computer and the switch. You will be able to tell when you're connected when the Disconnect button is highlighted and the Connect button is grayed out. By pressing enter, you'll be prompted for a login. The default login for this switch is username admin and then enter the password switch. The next thing is to enter an IP interface for the default VLAN, which is VLAN 1. We've entered an address there, and then the next command, AAA authentication default local, opens up authentication to allow telnet and web access. These next two commands are very important on an Alcatel 6600 switch. The two commands are write memory and copy working certified. Write memory changes the configuration of the working operating system of the switch, and then copy working certified copies the working directory into the certified directory. And the key part about this is that these two directories need to be the same in order to be able to reboot the switch and keep all the configuration settings that you made. The next thing that we wanted to do is create a second VLAN. In order to do this, we type in the command VLAN space 2 and press enter. Once VLAN 2 is created, we need to be able to configure it with an IP address, and the command for that is IP space interface space VLAN -2 space address, and set an appropriate address to connect to another switch in our case, give it an appropriate subnet mask using the mask command, and then VLAN space 2 at the end. Following that, we want to make sure that all of our traffic that is not going to our internal network routes through that, and so we set up IP static -route 0000 and mask 0.0.0.0 to go to gateway 10.0.1.254, which is our next switch. Once we have the IP address configured for VLAN 2, we want to set a specific port to it, and we do that by typing VLAN space 2 space port space default space 8/1. Now the 8 corresponds to the slot number on the front of the switch, and 1 corresponds to the port number on that switch. Now that VLAN 2 is properly configured, we can use the write memory and copy working certified commands to make the changes permanent on the switch. Next thing that we want to do is check, and we do that by typing in show space IP space interface. We should notice that you have loopback VLAN 1 and VLAN 2 all showing up in the table. The next step is to test an Ethernet connection to the switch. To do that, plug in an Ethernet cable to both the switch and your computer. Once you've done that, click on the Start menu and click on Control Panel to open up the items there, and then click on Network Sharing Center in order to bring up that menu. Near the top left of the screen it says Change Adapter Settings, and you'll need to click there in order to make the modifications necessary. From there, right-click on Local Area Connections and choose Properties from the drop-down menu that shows up. You'll want to disable IPv6 by clicking off the checkbox, and then click on Internet Protocol version 4 TCP IPv4 and click on the Properties button below. Once there, we'll want to configure an address that we'll be able to we'll be able to talk with the switch, and we do that by putting it on the 192.168.25 network. As you can see, we used 100 as the final host number, and the rest of the settings configured specifically to our networks. At this point, you also want to make sure that port 1 on the switch is connected to the other switch, which was the 10.0.1.254 address. Then open up your web browser and navigate to 192.168.25.254, the IP address we set as the switch. It'll bring up a logon screen where you enter the username admin and the password is switch. Once logged into the web interface of the switch, click on the Layer 2 button on the left-hand side and then select VLAN Management, and then under VLAN Configuration, select under Ports, Port Association. This will bring up the next screen, and here we want to verify that slot 8 port 1 is on VLAN 2 and the rest of the ports are on VLAN 1. The next step, close your browser, open up the Start menu and type in Run and find the program. Once you open up the Run dialog box, type in CMD, press Enter, and then type in ping space 192.168.1.254 to confirm that you have access to the outside router. At this point, you'll know that your switch is configured correctly if you have a successful ping.
Thank you for watching the first tutorial in our series. Please stay tuned for future networking tutorials.